Hey guys, Mathel here once again with a bit of a different video, as I recently did a couple of streams for sponsored content that is for EVE Online. It's a game that's been out for about 20 years and been incrementally improved upon over that time, and as such I'm also going to be doing this video to go over my sort of first impressions and what the game is about. I've never actually touched the game or seen the game up until this sponsor, and it's a pretty big and freaking cool game. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of people in my chat that, once I started playing this, ousted themselves as lifelong EVE fans and have been playing for thousands and thousands of hours, and the way some people talk about it and helped me out through it was pretty infectious, not gonna lie. They're very passionate fans about it, and for good reason. It's a big game, it's very deep, it has a lot you can do, and very different ways to play it, and then ultimately it's just a giant space game where things are pretty visually stunning, and you can really kind of choose your own little adventure. Between a few little play styles, there's some PvE, there's some PvP, there's some exploration, there's one of the biggest, most in-depth market systems you'll ever see in a game, about just pure min-maxing the market and becoming corporate overlord. Yeah, there's a few other things too. And so while the game is pretty massive and potentially overwhelming once you first log in, it's actually got a very nice intro to the video game itself. The way I started out is pretty much the way I think anyone should be starting out, and that is doing their tutorial to begin with. You poke around a bit, you do just a little video for a few minutes that kind of gives you an overview of what the game is and what you're supposed to be doing, and then you do a little tutorial, which takes maybe something like an hour or two if you're going at a slow enough pace like I was, just trying to absorb everything as efficiently as possible. And it's a very comfortable intro to a tutorial. You can, as you can see, also do some character customization to begin with. This is just basically a profile character, which isn't anything too serious, because you're not going to see a character most of the time. You're going to be seeing ships and spaceships and space flights and ports and bays and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a deep character customization system for the fun of it, and I poked around with that a lot as well. But the tutorial is actually a hugely helpful style of introduction into a game, because it does hold your hand nicely. It makes you feel pretty comfortable. It makes you kind of start absorbing all of the little things that you should be doing in the game pretty cleanly, and I actually really enjoyed the tutorial as a start to the game. It's comfortable, like I said, and at no point do you really feel overwhelmed, because you do actually just have little tasks that you do, and they basically tell you exactly how to do them, and then by the end of it you should have a small enough grasp of the game that you can start poking around in the rest of the game by yourself and not be too overwhelmed, because you do at the end of it all kind of just get dropped into the main game, and it just goes, here it is, now you kind of choose whatever you want to do. And as I said, you can do quite a lot of your own things depending on what choices you make. Go down a PvE sort of route, do some missions, do some quests, campaigns, stuff like that, where you might do a bit of everything basically in a PvE one. You'll attack things, you'll defend from things, you'll build new ships, you'll salvage, you'll mine, that sort of thing. Whereas if you could instead go a pure PvP route, you would quite likely just be trying to harassing other players and stealing their shit. You become kind of like pirate scum, and that is probably one of the most lucrative ways to kind of get rich in a game like this, where you just kind of loot other people's stuff if you manage to take them down. But the idea in this game is that you're not really fully eternal. You are eternal in that it's like you've got a uploaded mind link thing to machines, and you can't ever really die because you're transferred to the next ship, something like that. But the point is that you're not immortal, because you are expected to lose ships from time to time and then have to just build a new ship and take on your content with another ship. You'll have lots and lots of ships in the end, ideally, and You're supposed to join a corporation, which is kind of like a guild, where you will have other like-minded folk. There's lots of corporations out there based off of different objectives, and maybe some intro corporations or maybe some pure pirate corporations, stuff like that. And then you'll have like-minded people where you'll see lots of their ships as well, and you'll do little stuff together, or huge scale PvP combat against other people as well, out in deep space. The space itself is actually pretty freaking huge. It's like you start off doing, let's say, a few missions where you got to warp a few times, so you've got to warp between areas, and when you're doing that, you'll start to get an understanding of how big the space is, because you'll barely scratch the surface after your first few missions and tutorial and campaign stuff. And then you'll realize that the actual space out there is like 100 times bigger than what you just then experienced, with like 10, 15 warps between locations, and it can still go like 100 much more, etc. Like, here's me checking out the star system or map for the first time and just getting a feel for what I've kind of experienced, and then how much more there is out there. And I still didn't really zoom out too far because I didn't want to destroy my tiny little mind too heavily, but yeah, there's a lot of places you can go. You've also got to kind of get rid of your archaic thinking, which you might have, like I did, where you start out in a star center or one sort of big hub, and you think, yep, that's my local hub, that's my like home base. It's not really like that. You just travel from place to place and just kind of forget about any one home location, because every location can basically be your home location. I was a bit hesitant to be like, oh shit, if I leave there, how can I get back to where I was? It doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to be back there. There's going to be missions and objectives all over the freaking universe, and there's no real home as such, unless you particularly want to make one your home. But, honestly, I don't really know enough about the game to be giving any sort of advice like that. I've been playing for about 6 hours at this point, and one of the other real big things that you basically do here is ship building and customization, which is a pretty large and fairly deep system that you can really maybe make your own mark and stamp on. You can, right from the get-go, essentially open up the ship map, ship tree, I guess you'd call it, and see what each faction has to offer for ships, right from the early game right to the late game, where you will end up building some absolutely giga colossal ships, and for all different types of purposes. And you can start looking around all their ships, and then the kind of mini game of outfitting them becomes your main priority, as you're trying to min-max the ways to put things onto your ship and make them as good as possible, because they've got DPS, they've got EHP, they've got movement, mobility, that sort of stuff as well. And there's lots of different things and aspects that you can attach and incorporate into your ship that someone else might not have quite figured out on min-max. It's kind of like a path of building system as well, where you can plan your ships and get a bit more customization into your EVE spaceship building world. It's pretty big and kind of a cool system. So the end result being a very large space style game that's had a lot of love and development over the past 20 years to become what it is today, and it is quite a fan favorite amongst many people. There's about 30,000 people playing when I just first logged in on the one server, and it is a free-to-play game, so I do encourage you to go through the link that I've got, which is like a recruiter friend link. So once you start up, you'll have more skill points, and skill points are just something that help you advance your skills and learning system in the game for being able to use things. So it's a pretty good start if you go through that link and get a good little kickstart and go through the tutorial, give it a shot. You really got nothing to lose, given that it is free to play for as long as you want, and if you want to, then you can start going through a more subscription-based system where you'll just have a few more perks or go a bit faster with some learning and stuff like that. But you can look into that more yourself, and you can even go through the subscription system as a free-to-play player as well if you grind hard enough. Something like that. Either way, the main point of the video is to let you know that this game's out there. It's free to play, free to try, and there's going to be a big expansion coming in around a couple weeks time on the 11th of June. That's going to once again have a bunch more development put into it and a bunch of stuff for you to do, explore, more exploration, more stuff. And all that's left to say is this was a pretty cool sponsor. I was very happy to do this, very happy to try this game out, and I'll probably still poke around inside of it a little bit and do a bit more exploration myself, try a few more missions, yeah, if you could help out by just clicking the link and giving it a shot, that would be lovely for maybe getting a future sponsor as well with the same guys. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, listening, and I'll see you guys next time.